That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, this video is going to be a little bit of everything. We are going to not only preview this free agent wide receiver class, but we are also going to be looking at potential landing spots for free agents like Allen Robinson and also for someone like Treylon Burks in the NFL draft. Let's kind of just take an entire view of the overall landscape. And yeah, I think before we get into anything, one thing we should discuss is, the fact that some of you watching this video right now have not gone down there and hit that like button. That some of y'all, I know it's very few, but some of y'all have not subscribed to the channel. Fix your life. Do that right now and leave a comment letting me know any dynasty trade questions you may have or your favorite landing spots for one of these wide receivers to go. And of course, if you want to find our rankings or if you want to have access to a lot of free content as well, you can do so over on Locals. You can find that link in the description of this video and in the comment section. But I think that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into this wide receiver preview video. And before we get into the actual landing spots themselves, let's just kind of talk about the actual players that are going to be available on the market this year. And of course, I have to bring up Davante Adams. He's not going to be available. Davante Adams, a player of that caliber, is never going to hit free agency. I don't know if you want to say that the NFL is unfair to do this, but they have the franchise tag. The Green Bay Packers aren't going to let Davante Adams go without getting something for him. So if Davante Adams was to make his way out of Green Bay this offseason, it wouldn't be as simple as, oh, Davante Adams, he's a free agent. He's going over to Chicago. No, that's not happening. It would be, well, Davante Adams. We got him on the franchise tag. He really, really wants out. We're going to have to trade him to someone else. But in reality, Davante Adams is most likely going to be a Green Bay Packer this upcoming season. Now, Chris Godwin, on the other hand, it's a very interesting case because Chris Godwin is still incredibly young, drafted in 2017. And with Godwin, clearly had the elite level breakout back in 2019. So it doesn't seem like he should be nearly as young as he is. But let me pull this up before I speak out of my ass. But I believe at the time of this recording, he is about to turn 26 years old. And yeah, he just turned 26 years old this offseason. Now, the issue with Godwin is obviously the significant knee injury that he suffered at the very end of this past season. And I don't know if that makes him less likely or more likely to go back to Tampa. But now we're looking at a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that's kind of stuck in no man's land with Tom Brady retiring. So there's the outside chance that you do have Godwin walking. But while Chris Godwin is healthy, Chris Godwin should be valued as that low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2, especially from a dynasty perspective when he's still in his prime at only 26. And then going over, we have Amari Cooper likely getting released from Dallas. Now, I'm recording this on March 6th. Maybe by the time that this video is out, Amari Cooper is already out of Dallas. And I'm not going to lie, we had a lot of people saying this was going to happen, at the beginning of this offseason. And I was talking about this last year, that this was a possibility if you looked at the structure of his contract and the fact that Michael Gallup was going to be signing his second deal this offseason. But with the injury to Michael Gallup at the end of the year, I flipped my tone. I kind of came out here and said, oh no, I think Amari Cooper is going to be safe to stay in Dallas. It's going to be very hard for them to let Amari Cooper go so they could re-sign an injured Michael Gallup, who really played not at all this past year. But it looks like they're going to be letting Amari go. They're going to franchise tag possibly Dalton Schultz and re-sign Michael Gallup. So Amari Cooper is going to be someone else we're finding a landing spot for. Now, Mike Williams is a free agent as well. And I would be very surprised if Mike Williams makes his way outside of Los Angeles because the clear replacement, Joshua Palmer, I think we can all agree is nowhere near the same caliber of a wide receiver that Mike Williams is. It's not like this team's paying an absurd amount to their quarterback. Justin Herbert is on that rookie contract. If you look at this entire roster, I think that they bring back Mike Williams. Yeah, they didn't pick up his fifth-year option last year. It doesn't really matter. I think Mike Williams will be going back to Los Angeles. Allen Robinson, going to be out of Chicago. I don't think anybody can debate that at this point. Allen Robinson, probably going to be one of the bigger names on this list. However, I am just off of Robinson. Maybe it's because he burned me last year in redraft formats in particular, when I thought that when he was going neck and neck with Michael Thomas and Terry McLaurin, that Allen Robinson was the best draft pick out of that group. And I went all in on that statement. And obviously Allen Robinson was significantly worse than someone like Terry McLaurin, which hurt our drafting a little bit last year. But for him to fail in Chicago in the same exact situation where Darnell Mooney clearly established himself as the wide receiver one in that offense with the same quarterback, I'm not that excited about Allen Robinson entering free agency here. Now you have Juju Smith-Schuster, another player. Y'all know I've gotten Juju wrong time and time again. I mean, I didn't really tell that many people to buy low on him this past offseason, but that was because we already had him everywhere in our Dynasty leagues, and we paid way more than his current Dynasty price. Got suckered into the age-adjusted production, and I'm rooting for Juju Smith-Schuster to land somewhere nicely. I think that we actually have a potential landing spot later on in this video that I'll be excited to discuss. We have Odell Beckham Jr., Odell, very similar to Michael Gallup, very similar to Chris Godwin. Another one of these wide receivers that, I mean, probably had a very promising market for himself this upcoming season, but another ACL tear during the Super Bowl. Legitimately, the worst time you could see that injury. If you're looking at a 9-month timetable on average, not to mention that this isn't Odell's first ACL tear, not to mention that Odell's 28, 29. We know those veteran players take a little bit longer to come back. So I think we can say 9 months, best case scenario, is probably likely it's going to take Odell Beckham Jr. 10 months to get back. He tore that in the middle of February. So we're looking at a December return. That's not going to be great for Odell Beckham Jr. this upcoming season. And another injury-plagued wide receiver, we got Will Fuller on this list as well. So with Will Fuller, I think that if we're talking about a best ball format in particular, maybe Will Fuller could actually be slightly appealing, just given some spike week potential, but obviously not able to get healthy when he signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Miami Dolphins this past offseason. And then Michael Gallup, as we've discussed. But I think if you have Amari Cooper gone from Dallas, Gallup's going to stay. So I know that we wanted to throw Amari on this list. Let's put Amari Cooper / Michael Gallup. One of them is going to be available, one won't. Now, of course, if I'm missing anybody, please go to the comment section and let me know. But let's go team by team and talk about the potential best landing spots that we could have here. And the first team we are going to discuss will be the Green Bay Packers. And no, this isn't because I think that Davante Adams is going somewhere else. No, I am saying the Green Bay Packers are going to be one of the best landing spots this offseason, regardless of where Davante Adams is. Obviously, you'd rather him be gone, but no, Davante Adams will be in Green Bay. But beyond that, obviously, we know that pretty much Dynasty players every single offseason have been chasing a wide receiver 2 in Green Bay, trying to find the next, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, 1-2 punch. And every single year, Davante Adams just goes, you know what? I'll take 30% of the team's targets. I'll just be the wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Well, we've had a committee approach to the wide receiver 2 position in Green Bay for a very long time. And now I think that this situation could clearly be cleaned up because, yes, they traded for Randall Cobb last offseason, but they cut Cobb. They can save $7 million. Now, I'm no mathematician, but I'd imagine that's something that they explore. Then, if we're looking at just straight up free agents, you got Equanimeous St. Brown, Allen Lazard, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling as all free agents. So, essentially, I know Davante Adams is a free agent as well, but Davante Adams will be franchise tagged. But as it stands currently, with the assumption that they move on from Randall Cobb, this team does not have a single wide receiver of note. Now, of course, that's probably not going to be the case. The team's going to franchise tag Davante Adams, and they'll probably sign one of Equanimeous St. Brown, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, or Allen Lazard, probably Marquez Valdes-Scantling. But we know that we are just going to get nonstop rumors all offseason, and it's entirely possible that Aaron Rodgers isn't a Green Bay Packer this upcoming year. But if you are the Green Bay Packers, when push comes to shove, are we really going to be trading Aaron Rodgers to Denver before we at least try to make him happy by signing one of these big-time receivers? I would imagine that if the Green Bay Packers were ever trying to please Aaron Rodgers, they were trying to just mend this relationship before it was completely severed. You go out there and you give a ton of money to someone like Chris Godwin. you give a ton of money to someone like Amari Cooper. Mike Williams would be a great fit as well. Mike Williams stretching the field, letting Davante Adams work underneath. And with one of those wide receivers stepping in, even if Davante Adams still continues to soak up over 25% of this team's target share, with the efficiency we have had from Aaron Rodgers, specifically over the past 2 seasons, you know that this could be very similar to a Cincinnati Bengals, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins type situation. This can be very similar to a Jameis Winston back in 2019 with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I think that's in the range of outcomes for a wide receiver 2 to land in Green Bay and to, I don't want to say draw a significant amount of targets, but to be highly efficient with the majority of defensive attention going to Davante Adams. And if they can please Aaron Rodgers to keep him in Green Bay, imagine what Chris Godwin is doing running alongside Davante Adams with Aaron Rodgers. Now let's go to a team that was very much run heavy this past season and probably wouldn't think that you want a wide receiver landing on their team. But let's talk about the New England Patriots. So with New England, obviously, wide receiver 1, Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers able to get a ton of targets, but never that productive in fantasy because for whatever reason, Jacoby Myers is one of those rare players that cannot find the end zone no matter what. Now, beyond Jacoby Myers, they have Nelson Aguilar signed to 1 more year. They have Kendrick Bourne. They can cut him, save $4 million. Who the hell knows what they're going to do? I can't get in the mind of Bill Belichick. Clearly, he's like an alien, and I am like a little ant if you're looking at our intelligence. But I think if you're looking at this New England Patriots receiver core, this could be a very clear answer for a team to potentially go and make a move for a veteran wide receiver. We've seen it before from this organization. This is an organization that has been historically bad at drafting rookie wide receivers. Can we show how bad the New England Patriots have been over the past 10 seasons in drafting wide receivers? Obviously, the most recent example, N'Keal Harry at the end of the first. So if this team were to, I've even seen rumors that they go trade for Amari Cooper. Now, of course, every time a star says they want to make a trade, everybody on Twitter thinks it's hilarious to get the Bill Belichick WWE meme up there saying he's going to go out there and trade for that star. But if you had an Amari Cooper, you had a Mike Williams, you had a Chris Godwin coming over here, that would be a natural fit in terms of just the wide receiver 1, that prototypical alpha X wide receiver spot being open in this offense. And with Mac Jones, I think this is better than the quarterback position has been since Tom Brady left. Obviously, we just had Cam Newton beforehand, but I think Mac Jones is a promising quarterback to take a step up in year 2. And you could easily see that if Mac Jones was able to take that step up, if they were able to add in another top wide receiver talent to replace Jacoby Myers or possibly sign Jacoby Myers back and bring in another wide receiver on top of that, then all of a sudden this team could skew to be a little bit more pass happy. So now let's go over to our next offense, and this is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders, who were rumored to possibly be in the mix for Juju Smith-Schuster last offseason. And with the Raiders, I don't think we need to discuss that much. The only receiving options they really have, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. Darren Waller not going anywhere. Hunter Renfrow currently on his contract year, but Hunter Renfrow isn't that prototypical alpha X wide receiver. Hunter Renfrow is going to be that guy, a poor man's version of Keenan Allen. He's going to be either a slot wide receiver or a flanker dependent on the personnel that they have. So I would assume that this would actually be a very bad landing spot for someone like Juju Smith-Schuster, a perfect example, someone that was rumored to go here last year, because what this offense needs is speed on the outside. They need someone to replace Henry Ruggs. They need someone to be able to play the X that, Bryan Edwards clearly did not pan out to do. So I could see this being a landing spot for, you know what? If we are being realistic, you know how teams like to sign in division. And this team needs that prototypical alpha X wide receiver that can run routes deeper downfield, that can generate space underneath for Hunter Renfrow in particular and Darren Waller over the middle. This would be the perfect team for Mike Williams. Please let me know if y'all think I am wrong in saying that. I think it would be a good team for Chris Godwin as well. I wouldn't see the fit with Juju Smith-Schuster. If they wanted to save some money, they could go out there and sign Will Fuller. Will Fuller could step in and fill that Henry Ruggs void in the field stretching option for this offense. But still, definitely a ton of snaps available. I mean, right now, his wide receiver room is headlined with Hunter Renfrow and Bryan Edwards. Are we really still arguing for Bryan Edwards? Now, our next team also was in the mix for Juju Smith-Schuster last year, and their wide receiver 2, their wide receiver 3, both free agents, and Juju would be the perfect fit, and maybe I am just way too hopeful with this, but the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, with the Chiefs, obviously, they're not going to be able to go out there and make that splash play and sign Chris Godwin for a ton of money. They would be looking for someone on a discount when they're paying Patrick Mahomes so much. You have Tyreek Hill on his contract here. I'd assume that Tyreek Hill, doesn't play his contract season. I'd imagine that Tyreek Hill gets an extension this offseason. And you have Travis Kelce turning 33 this year. So all of a sudden, I think that while, yes, this offense has been just driven exclusively through Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce since 2018, 2019, 2020, 21. That's 4 seasons, okay? So it's been a very long time. I think that there's at some point going to be a need for Patrick Mahomes to involve someone else. And when you have Demarcus Robinson and Byron Pringle as free agents, and we just look at the personnel for this team, I think it would make a lot of sense to bring in someone like Juju Smith-Schuster, to bring in someone that can run those routes underneath when you have the speed on the outside in Tyreek Hill as is. There were rumors that Kansas City offered something to Juju last offseason for whatever reason. He wanted to stay in Pittsburgh. It is what it is. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but clearly there are snaps available for the Kansas City Chiefs offense, which very similar to Green Bay. They haven't been able to produce a wide receiver 2 of consequence, in recent history, but just because we haven't seen it over the past 3 to 4 years doesn't mean that there's not enough production to go around there. We just have to make sure that those targets are concentrated with a very few amount of players and sliding a little bit from Travis Kelce, who's going to be a 33-year-old tight end, to potentially a new wide receiver coming in. Now, let's go over to a very similar offense. You have the wide receiver 2 and the wide receiver 3 from this past season, most likely gone, and probably one of, if not the best passing offenses in the NFL. Very similar. We got the Buffalo Bills here. Now with Buffalo, Cole Beasley, yes, still under contract, going to be 33 years old, and they could save $6 million by cutting him. That's going to be about the price of Juju. Would you rather keep Cole Beasley, pay him $6 million? Pay him more than that, but pay him the additional $6 million you would owe him by keeping him at 33 years old? Or would you rather take that $6 million? Keep in mind, Juju signed for $8 million last offseason on a 1-year deal, so I'd imagine probably the market's not going to be charging too much more than that at this point. Or would you rather give that $6 million or $5 million or $4 million, save a little bit of money, and give that to a Juju Smith-Schuster and let Stephon Diggs run those vertical routes down the field? Let Juju run a little bit underneath. We know Gabriel Davis has the speed to run those vertical routes as well. This is a team that runs a lot of personnel with 4 wide receivers in the field. They can save $6 million by cutting Cole Beasley. Emmanuel Sanders has just a completely voidable contract. Emmanuel Sanders also at the same time is 35 years old. So I think this is another potential landing spot for a lot of these guys on this list. Now, let's go over to our last 2 spots. Now, both of these offenses, are offenses I've hated on a ton over the past 2 seasons now. And I know that probably if I decided not to do it, people probably would have worse dynasty teams that watch this video. But at the same time, I think that we would have gotten a lot less hate on this channel, but it is what it is. Let's go talk about Chicago. So with Chicago, you have no Allen Robinson here. And with no Allen Robinson, these are the wide receivers left on the team. Probably going to mispronounce a couple of these names. You got Darnell Mooney. Hey, he was a high-end wide receiver 4, low-end wide receiver 3 on a points per game basis last year in this situation. I don't think that Darnell Mooney is some elite level talent at the receiver position. You got Nsimba Webster. Never heard of the man. Isaiah Cutler. I'm probably an idiot, probably mispronouncing that. And you have Daz Newsome. So really, the only wide receiver on this depth chart as it stands is Darnell Mooney. Now, I am not the biggest fan of Justin Fields in the world. I think a lot of people know that by now. But it's not like Justin Fields is making the Chicago Bears as bad as Jared Goff with the Detroit Lions. I think that there will be some production to go around here, and it has to go somewhere. I don't think it's going to Daz Newsome. I apologize if anybody here was really hoping that at the back end of their rosters, Daz Newsome was going to do anything. He's not. I mean, maybe, just maybe, Chicago makes a play for someone like, I don't want to say Marcus Valdes-Scantling, play a similar role as Darnell Mooney. Now, our last team, someone else that we have given a bunch of crap to because their quarterback, primarily, the Cleveland Browns. And now, with Cleveland, this season, they moved on from Odell. They haven't done it yet. Don't know why, but I'm assuming that they're going to announce that they're cutting Jarvis Landry. If the Dallas Cowboys feel the need to cut Amari Cooper for $16 million, the Browns aren't going to cut Jarvis Landry for $15 million, the same exact price. I'd imagine Jarvis is gone or they restructure. And then Rashard Higgins is also a free agent. So if we are looking at this depth chart, you have two wide receivers, Donovan Peoples-Jones and Anthony Schwartz. Schwartz, just the field stretching guy, never really going to command a lot of volume. Donovan Peoples-Jones, an interesting long shot in Dynasty. But even though this is one of the worst passing offenses in the NFL, I think that they do have a higher ceiling than someone like the Detroit Lions. And with Detroit this past season, they allowed Amon-Ra St. Brown to go out there and be a wide receiver one at the end of the year when they had no TJ Hawkinson, when they had no DeAndre Swift, when they had nobody else to get the ball to. That may be a very similar situation that we're seeing in Cleveland this year, where even if they're not a great passing offense, even if they're not as exciting as Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, still there could be some value to be had if they just have absolutely nobody on this depth chart. Now, I think that's all I got for this video. Of course, thank you so much for checking out the vlog. Really hope y'all enjoyed it. Please go down there, drop that like, leave a comment letting me know how stupid I am, subscribe to the channel, and I hope that you have a great day as well.